Get ready to root for Jen Poff, a struggling actress whose career is about as lively as a wilted flower. Her soulmate, Wes Blankenship, is a music maestro with a heart of gold. Along comes Mason Langford, a Hollywood big shot with a cutting proposal to help Jen get back on the map. But hold the phone, folks. Mason has a ginormous ego and cares more about his agenda than helping Jen. What's his hidden agenda? Jen soon realizes the sinister catch, but it's too late, and Mason springs an ultimatum on her. Can she bear to be apart from Wes for 5 long years? Get ready to be whisked away on a wild emotional ride with this gripping story. Love is Worth Waiting For is a second chance rock star romance with a fake relationship set in Hollywood and comes with a happy ending. Love is Worth Waiting For is available now at most online booksellers. I would like to say that we try to strive for perfection here on the podcast, but we're human and nothing is perfect, and today is a prime example of that. While the episode, it was a great interview, it was an enjoyable interview, it's got some sound issues, and sometimes I think it just chalks it up to the platform that I'm recording on, or the fact that maybe the internet was glitching at the time. There's no telling, but for some reason this episode has an issue, and Rich Zai from Third Ear Audio has tried to fix it. And unfortunately, I can't get my guest back because scheduling conflicts. So we're going to make the best of it. And hopefully you guys enjoy the interview. So here you go. Welcome to the Better 2 podcast. I'm your host, Donna. Today's guest is Lisa and Bob from the BellRays. And they're here to talk today about their new album, Heavy, Steady, Go. We also talk about their tour. We talk about how the music industry has changed, insurance, which is just a bizarre thing, but there's a reason behind it, social media, and a whole bunch more. So tune in. Hi, Lisa and Bob. How are you doing today?
Hello, we're good.
Good to be here.
I'm happy that we finally get to do this. So what are you guys, I know you're getting ready to go out on tour by the time this airs, because we're taping a little bit ahead because I'm going to be moving shortly. You're getting ready to go out on tour with Social Distortion to promote a new record, correct?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. And because we were supposed to be on tour with them last summer,
right,
and it didn't happen. So this has been long coming, this tour.
So you got to definitely be excited.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Looking forward to it.
We've been gearing up all of 2024 for this.
But you guys just got off tour with The Damned, correct? That was last year, man.
No, we were supposed to go out with Social Distortion, and then that didn't happen because Mike Ness got cancer. He got throat cancer.
Yeah. So
he spent all this time recovering from that. So no, we did not get to do any of those cool things. And then because when you get on a big tour, after that happens, if you're waiting for that to come back, if you still want to be on the tour, you can't take on any other tours.
No.
You can't do any other stuff. So we've literally been waiting this entire year to go and rock the nation.
Just see, when I was doing my research, I saw that you guys had toured with The Damned as well.
We have twice.
Okay.
Lucky enough to be asked 2 times to go and tour with them. So
nice.
Take that as an honor. And they're an amazing band. Yeah. Amazing band.
Yeah.
So I guess, if you look back to when you first started becoming a musician, did you ever imagine you'd be playing with these people?
No.
Not in a million years. Not when you're watching that video. It said Captain. It said what? And then you're just like, oh my God, I get to going on the road with this guy. So yeah. No.
But then the mystique goes away. Then it's not so much, oh my gosh, it's like, oh yeah, it's him now. It
was I'll say this to The Damned, like I was not a big Damned fan before we started touring with them. And now I mean they gotta be in one of my top 3 bands.
You watch them play every night.
Man,
yeah.
They are great. And if anything, there's more mystique to them now, how they keep doing what they're doing, with the new records. And it's amazing. They're a great source of inspiration for me.
Absolutely.
They're out there still doing it.
Absolutely.
It's really cool.
That's awesome. And I mean, when the Spice Girls toured, I was not a Spice Girls fan. Okay, fair enough. I was not a Spice Girls fan. I had a friend who was playing percussion with Spice Girls and was the director, and he got his tickets. And I will say, after watching them perform live, the musicianship, the showmanship, it was like, okay, yeah, I'm sold, because they put on a show, and they even considered the the younger people in the audience said they had an intermission like a theater show.
Yeah, yeah.
So sometimes the live show can even gain more fans.
Sure.
And change your opinion totally about them.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
For sure.
So let's talk about the record coming out, Heavy Steady Go.
Let's.
Yes. So what was the driving inspiration, because you know you're on a motorcycle there. What was the driving inspiration behind that?
Well, it was a record that we had been trying to get done since about 2020. We did the first demos, I want to say in like February of 2020. So we thought, okay, we're going to get these demos done, and then this record's going to be out then. And that did not happen. So this was a true labor of love.
Yeah.
Love, sometimes a little animosity.
Right.
Capital labor.
We just didn't know that it was going to take this long to do it. And some songs we didn't know that they were going to just take that long to become the song that they are. But it was one of those records where, and I don't know if we do this every time, where we couldn't really see the path. You know, we're every time that we go to do it, we had either a change in the people that were playing with us, or a pandemic, or something else would come up, and we just kind of figured, I don't know, like it just made it really hard to just kind of glom down and say, this is what the record's going to be. So the whole idea of it, even being called Heavy Steady Go, I don't even know if that was that clear.
Yeah, I think the Heavy Steady Go, the actual title, just came after listening to all the songs, the rough cuts of all the songs, and just getting a sense of, you know, that title just sort of jumped into my mind.
It embodied
what are we going to call
we
this? And that came out, but it wasn't until it, you know, we heard it, like all of the songs recorded and played end to end. And usually, like this album, when we first started, all of our albums were recorded after we'd be playing live, and we had so many songs coming in that we played.
Yeah.
Every time we recorded an album, we were already out live playing like the next two albums, you know.
And
so
for those of your listeners that don't understand, that world has changed. You
Yeah.
don't do that anymore in the music industry.
Yeah, and it's
People will tell you that your song is not new because they heard it at a show when you were working it out.
yeah, and
Wow.
it's we don't do that. We don't do it that way anymore. And now it's basically, you know, you write some songs and I don't want to say hope that they come together in an album, but you know, you don't know. Like Lisa said, you know, there was a bunch of these songs that took so long to materialize. Just, you know, we had to play them. It's like, you know, a blacksmith hammering out the thing. You know, you don't know what it's going to be. You have a sort of an idea of a shape, but you don't know what it's going to be until you're done beating on it. And that's kind of how the record came out.
Well, like you bring up a good point about how the music industry has changed, because, you know, there was a time when, you had to hone those skills. You had to create that song, craft that song. And now it's like everybody wants it online. They want an instant gratification. And if you put out a whole album, are they actually going to sit down and listen to the whole thing? Or did they just want songs?
Right. Or are they just going to tell you, they're just listening to tell you what they don't like? They don't like that it's not brand new. They don't like that it's not something that, like, I'm always like kind of amazed by like where things can go when you're just being creative and writing songs. Like, I just want to put a record out. This shouldn't be literally, it shouldn't be brain surgery.
And it's, you know, it's I don't want to say it's any better or any worse, but the idea of sitting down and listening to an album, the idea of sitting down and listening to anything that isn't, you know, 30 seconds anymore, it just seems weird to that, you know, I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to listen to this album. And like, people look at you like, you have all that time free? Like, it's a half an hour. It's like 35 minutes. Like,
but that's the way we look at life.
You can't just sit still for 35 minutes and just listen to a set of songs, you know, go somewhere, you know, and it's just, it's weird. And I didn't always think that way. I didn't acknowledge that fact, but it is that way. And when, before we got this record out, we have people, man, you should just put out write a bunch of songs and just put one out a month. And it's like, well, what fun is that? I guess you could do it, but and there's probably nothing wrong with it.
No,
but it's 2 minutes, and then you got to wait another month for the next 3 minutes or whatever it is.
And there's people that are going to tell you can't tour on that. Somebody's always trying to tell you everything you can't do if you do something one way. But the other thing I got to say to people that have those kind of suggestions is, hey, get your own band and do it your way, the way that you want to do it. If you really think that that's the way to do this stuff, because I think there's also the misconception that doing this is easy, that doing this is somehow, when you're sitting on your couch talking about all the stuff that you do differently, if you had the BellRays and how you would do these songs, and that's a very different position to be in than actually having to go out there and sow the seeds and bake the bread and do all the little hen stuff.
And I know people like very prolific songwriters who could put out probably a song a week for the rest of their lives. I mean, like write a song, put it out, record it, put it out every week for the rest of their lives. And, but they want to see it go somewhere. They want to see you
want it to be born. Like, just because you write a song doesn't mean it's actually been born. There's this whole process of one of the other reasons that this record that we started in 2020 is coming out in 2024. I gotta believe it. Like, after we record the songs, after we recorded them in 2022 and we listened to them and they sounded great and we're like, this is going to be it, we're going to get these done. Then we start listening to them and coming back to work on them, and a couple of them they're good, but they're almost like, I just almost believe it.
This one needs that other thing.
We just
needs that,
but we don't know what that thing is.
Right.
You just listen to it and you're just like, I'm not really believing it. And then you work the songs, you start playing them again, and then you realize, oh, we got to re-record this one. We got to do more to this song. It needs a break here. It needs to be extended in this one part. We need to change the drums in this other section. And it doesn't have to do with like just going in there and changing the drums. Like, everything has to actually change. So I really like the fact that as songwriters, we are very dedicated to making sure that those songs have the best life that they can possibly have. Because that's our duty as the people that are in charge of the BellRays and looking out for the BellRays every day. We are the only ones that can actually get the seal of approval, put it on there.
That's one of the reasons recently why I rushed last year and put 3 books out, and they're not great. And so I pulled them all because I'm not happy with them. But
oh man, that's gotta be way more than what I was just talking about.
But no, it's not. It's not. It's the same thing, because it's the whole thing of somebody's going to sit there and say, well, I don't like it because of this, this, and this. And there's this whole, then you start re-looking at your work.
Yeah.
It's like you're re-listening to something, you're like, no, that could be better, that could be better. And along the lines of people critiquing you, I find it funny because there's a famous musician who was playing around with ChatGPT one day. He said this in an interview, and he's talking about how his wife comes in and says, ask it how hard it is to write a hit pop song. And the musician's a little miffed that his wife asked this, and ChatGPT comes back and says, it's not easy.
That's great.
I know. And that's the thing. I think when you're creative, whether it be music or as an author, because I was in a band a long, long time ago and I didn't stick with it, but I think as a creative, we want that perfection. We want it to be the best we can make it. And at the time we may think it looks great. And then we have to go back. It's the painter who overpaints. And that's not always a bad thing, but we are driven. And the problem is the person that consumes the art, whether it be music or a book, they don't understand everything that goes into it. They want the free book, they want the free song, and they don't look at what really goes into it. Your cover art, your time in the studio, the time writing the song. Nobody really looks at that anymore. They just want that instant gratification. And that goes back to not being able to sit down and listen. And when you think about this, can you imagine not sitting down and really zoning into like Pink Floyd's The Wall, like Dark Side of the Moon?
Yeah, you had to. Like that wasn't even a question. That's just like even hearing it right now just sounds so weird. But there are people that like while they do those reaction videos where they show people listening to something, and there's got to be people that are saying, no, 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 you have to listen to it all. You can't, you don't just get to do a reaction. I know you're going to do a reaction of this one song, but you got to listen to it all, not just this one part. And I don't know how that translates into, into appreciation, but I feel like, and this might be going out on a ledge, I feel like we're kind of going back to a place where there are these younger people that are like, well, I don't really like the way that everybody thinks that everything's supposed to be fast. I don't think that that's really the way to go. I think that we need to there needs to be a slowing down and a listening and a paying attention to things.
I think it's a thing where I used to see this like in punk shows all the time where, the Ramones in particular, I go to a Ramones show and you see them and when do they vote? And song after song, after about 4 songs, the mosh pit sort of dies. People stop doing it because they're tired. You physically can't keep up that level of energy going, right? So, I always thought when we put our sets together, it's kind of like, no, you put them together in bunches. You tell a conversation, you give them time to rest, and you give them, you sort of lead them through this thing. And I kind of think we're in one of those things now where everybody acknowledges that, yeah, you can have anything at the snap of a finger instantly for, whatever. And then you can go right to the next thing and you can do that. Everybody realizes that now. And it's like, okay, the sheen has worn off of that. My finger gets tired of pushing the button kind of a thing. And so now.
And I want to find what I like.
Yeah. And I think people are settling into, we can slow this down. We can speed it up if we want to.
There's the whole thing about consuming where you're right, where people just kind of get into this, eat. I just got to grab whatever I can get and just get it free. And then getting it free somehow makes it worth it. And it's like, but now it doesn't. It used to be the whole thing about zines was all about you had to dig to find some of these these weird 7 inches that somebody's talking about that this dude in Akron did, and he made 25 of them or something. And then you find it and listen to it and everybody screams about it or whatever, or don't, whatever that is, the search was part of it. And I think we're getting back to like where some people are into the search. Some people are also just, like Bob said, tired of consuming.
Yeah. And to go to your point of when the ticket price that people pay or the price of the album or whatever,
or the book or whatever,
that is not paying for that disc. It's not paying for that show. It's paying for all the gear that those guys bought, all of the practice time that they spent, all of the road time that they spent on the thing. Like it's trying to pay that back, for all of the work that you have put in to get to that point,
right.
And trying to make people aware of that is I don't actively try to make them aware of it. I just, if it comes up, it's like, no. Here's what I had.
When I try to make, I don't even really try to make them actively aware of it. It's the thing that people love to do to bands. Can you give me a discount on the merch?
Right.
Can I get one of those CDs for free? It's like, oh, that beer in your hand. Did you get that for free?
Yeah.
What did you even try? Because they could probably afford it more than a band that literally just drove to your town.
Right.
To you
from 300 miles away.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. They can go get their morning coffee or whatever, pay $3 for that when the CD is going to last them longer, a book's going to last them longer, but yet can't pay that.
A creative, you're going to say that to their face.
And it's going to make
and they're going to be mortified
for them to come back.
Right. Because creating's so easy.
Yeah. But when we're talking about the listening experience, I'm going to go back to I think I was in 8th grade when my dad, I'm a Gen X and I know you guys are around. So my dad some of his friends got together and gave everybody a Walkman and they gave him the wall. And I remember putting that in and hearing the separation in the music and the quality of it. And I think that's the thing. If you're rushing to put out something, if you're just going to do a hit a week, that song is not going to have that
Right.
quality. It's not going to have that mystique to it because you're not going to be able to listen to the layers of it.
It hasn't been born yet. It's like it's just been written. Like there's this whole thing about, the idea that you were talking about where somebody writes a song and then they just put it out and then they put out another song. Sometimes you actually those songs need to be heard against other songs in order to become their true self. You try to see how one song is going to stand up next to another one. I know that helped a couple of our songs develop into what they eventually became, but you don't know why. When you hand over that process, your creative process in that way, you're steering it, but you're still informed by what's happening. And I really like that aspect of these songs kind of standing up next to each other in order to become their true selves.
It's the conversation that an album can provide, as opposed to, sure, I like singles as much as anybody, the radio, but when the song is ending on the radio, I want to know what the next one's going to be. Like, what are they going to play next? What's going to happen next? And when you have that album and you get that familiarity, it leaves that mark on your brain where you can hear the next notes of the song, and it just, there's an anticipation and there's a reward when you hear those notes. To me, it's a very cool thing. Again, it's not the only way to do things, but if somebody puts together an album, well,
we did that.
Yeah,
we did that.
It's something worth listening to.
The only reason I'm saying that in that way while he was saying that is because this is literally the first record in decades that we've done where I could just listen to it over and over again.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that those other records weren't really great records, but there was there was just like this feeling of like, oh, I have self-consciousness or whatever it is, it kind of gets in your head about something at a certain time. And maybe it was the amount of time that it took for us to do this, but I literally, every shift, change, everything that happens in the record while we're listening to it, I could just listen over and over and over again.
Well, and I want to give it a shout out because whatever turned you on has that nice, sexy sleaze to it, and I know you want to hear that, but it's true. I mean, it's got a nice feel to it, a nice sexiness to it, and it's a totally different song than if you listen to Snakes. So it's like the thing is, for me, I don't want to put on a record and every song, like the Ramones show, sounds the same, has the same tone. Everything sounds different, and that makes a good album. That makes something that is worthwhile.
Yeah, you have to have different tempos, different keys. You have to have different things going on. I've listened to albums in the past where, the first song's like, man, this song is great, and then the second comes on, man, this song's really good too. And this one, oh, they're gonna do it again. Oh, like every song is in the same key and the same tempo and the same. It's like you turn it off after 5 songs. It doesn't matter what's on the end, after that point, you just get the feeling that it's just going to be more of this.
Right.
Every song individually is great, but you start listening to them again, you just get tired.
That's not our record.
No.
That's not our record.
my sound guy and I go through this because one of his favorite bands is The Outfield, and I've never sat down and listened to a formal Outfield record. I've only heard the singles, and every single sounded alike. And he's like, but that's not who they are. They're great. And I'm just like,
proofs in listening to the record.
Just listening to what I heard. Can't go there. Just can't go there. And I know what you mean about radio because it's like I used to program my air shift. You can't do that anymore. But back in 95, I was still able to, or 94, I was able to do that. And you had those up tempos and then you had the lower tempos. So you have to make it work. And that's exactly how you said it. A show works that way as well. Yeah. And as far as to your point about those opening refrain, my dad took me to see Star Wars so many times when I was a kid that every time the 20th Century Fox thing started, the little tempo, I always was like, in a galaxy far, far away. Oh, gosh, and I'm going to have to say something about Lucas. But anyway, we all know what I'm talking about. Cool. So, there's things that are imprinted on us. And music is definitely something that will bring up a memory, a feeling, and an emotion. And that's part of the gift of being a musician.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's the gift of being a creative. Because it goes across, it's wonderful and it's burdensome It's it's both of those things. Because you can't just say, "Oh, it's done." I wish I could.
Yeah.
I super wish I could just say it's done. It's over. I wrote the words. They're there. I sang them. That should be enough. And it's not enough. Like so many takes.
Right.
So many takes. And we used to not be that band. We used to be the band that would just like we evolved into this. We used to be the band that was just like, hey, let's cut it live. We could do it live.
Yeah.
And so we just do a bunch of live versions of something. And then the one that became the best one, we used it because we didn't know how to record anything. We didn't know what we were doing, but we just did it that way because we figured, oh, we don't have the budget to get a really good producer to do all this other stuff. And it was the thing that, made us who we were and broke us and got people to listen. But after a while, we just had to figure out, well, that's only good for, like after a while, you just can't listen to that kind of thing.
Yeah. A friend of mine said, because we did all these records live and he likened it to, the Beatles. Sure, you can put out Beatles 65 and have it be a great record or whatever. But if the next record isn't Rubber Soul, if you're just going to put out Beatles 65 every year,
and they had a fifth Beatle in the studio. That's really always been the worst thing to compare it to.
Yeah. So I mean, it's that got to be what the cool thing was looking forward to how we're going to do the next record. Like, it's not going to just be live at full blast, in the thing. And we easily could have done this record like that, like here in the studio when we were practicing the songs. I had set it up to record so I could mess with things and play with things and everything. And listening back to some of those practices is like, geez,
these are
we
great
should just
versions.
release this. This sounds great, But no, we had done what we did already, and it's just like,
and there's magical bits.
You go with that.
There's magical bits. That thing was like, you brought up Snakes, like the way that Snakes just kind of comes in and just sits there and does what it's supposed to do. That was elemental to like that song, and to be able to have the wherewithal to say, even though it'd just be great to just go and do a live version of all this, then we miss out on that. Oh.
Well, and it's true that, a live version of a song is not going to be how it is going to be on the record, because there's always that moment that something could go wrong or something could go totally right in a very different way.
Yes.
Well, that's what makes a live show a live show.
Exactly.
That's the special thing about a live show is it could go off the rails, or it could go so fast on the rails you won't believe it.
But we used to talk differently to ourselves about that.
Sure.
We used to think, oh, we're gonna go and work all the songs ahead of the, go on this tour, play all the songs on the road, and then come back and we'll know how to do them. And we were never really thinking at that time, because we didn't even really know about pre-production at that point. Right. We just come in and record the songs again.
Our pre-production was live stage,
That was our pre-production, but we weren't like thinking, hey, we could just do a different version of this. We could start with this other intro and do this thing. And we weren't even thinking like that. So now to be able to write, to be involved in these songs and say, oh, yeah, and we could just do this one part different, or it could get really quiet here and then just be vocals here, or, that's cool. That's cool to do that.
So what was the inspiration behind the cover art?
That's Bob.
When we came up with the title, I could see, my vision was always, like an old Jack Kirby comic book cover, where you had Captain America, he has a shield in his arm and his fist is right, like right there in your face, and he's like leaping out of the page. That's kind of what I saw. And when we were describing it
which is not what our cover looks like.
No, but the idea was that, like that idea. And when I started looking through pictures and stuff, we started talking about to the artist, and she came up with a mock-up of on a motorcycle, because one of the pictures I saw was Captain America on his motorcycle. So she did that, and it was just us on a motorcycle riding down the road. It looked like somebody took a picture from your car, and
except you were animated. Except we were like,
yeah, it was drawn, and then it was like no, and then I just found all these pictures of like Ghost Rider and all these things where, you know, he's landing on the thing and there's stuff flying everywhere and it's just so out of proportion and you know, wacky. That was the idea that, you know, once we filed it down, it was like, yeah, it should look like that. And she came back with the cover, the idea that, you know, she came back with was like, yeah, that it should be, it's like that.
It sounds way easier the way that Bob described it.
When I was doing my graphics for my website, I had hired an artist at the time, and I told her I wanted, you know, basically I do read cards, I read tarot cards, so I wanted it to look like the Three of Swords, except with a microphone, a quill for a pen, and a bass guitar neck. Okay, so she comes back with this microphone that looks like a smiling sperm. I'm like, no, I mean, I write romance, sure, but I don't need a smiling sperm, thank you. And I mean, it just was not anything. So yeah, I had to go back. I had to send her what I wanted. And yeah, I didn't say anything. I let my friends like, so what does this look like? She's like, looks like a smiling sperm. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I understand sometimes what we see, we have to be very, tap that down to get them to see our vision. But
absolutely.
Yeah, I totally understand.
Because when you think about Bob's first thing where it's a superhero and it's this, and then it becomes this other thing, like that's a lot. That's a lot in the mind to kind of say, oh, okay, well, it's going to be this.
And the way I described it, you know, I just realized that, no, I'm not describing it correctly. I think I am. In my head, I'm describing it correctly. Yeah. But the thing that got to where it turned from the static picture of us riding on the motorcycle to the other thing was like, no, the things that up front are really up front. They're like, you can't see them all, you know, it should be out of proportion and it should be, you know, things have to spin and things have to be blurry and it can't look like a real picture. It's not supposed to be proportional. It's supposed to be wacky to look this exaggerated form of energy. And, you know, somebody who writes comics, you know, they know that kind of thing. Because one of the other things that I was trying to get pictures of was like Speed Racer cartoons and, you know, all of the old Japanese anime and stuff, Kimba the White Lion and things where they would just show, you know, this big ass head and these little legs, you know, running with these lines just going past them. You know, it looks ridiculous until you just stop and look at the picture and go, man, that looks like she's jumping right out at me, you know. And that's it.
It looks good. I mean, it's great. And I thought it was kind of funny because, Lisa, you look like a badass. So, you know.
that was a cool part, too. It's like,
I was just kind of like, so do you ride? Or it was just...
No.
I didn't think
but it was
so.
one of those things where when we first got the thing of us on a motorcycle, Bob was driving, of course. And I said, well, that can't happen because he's going to be playing guitar. So I'm going to have to be driving the motorcycle. And it was just a weird thing to kind of have to like, because the whole rendering was kind of like me more like a Tootsie kind of thing. Yeah. And I look like a badass on the bike on this version of it. So that was kind of what we wanted. We wanted us to kind of look like, it wanted it to just be insane. Yeah. Because we always wanted something that was animated. Yeah. Like that.
Those, the other thing that I was thinking of too that I didn't think of at the time that I should have sent was the it's the show, the Black Kung Fu Boondocks. All of the fight scenes in Boondocks and all of the action stuff in Boondocks is that way. Yeah. You know, it's flying out of the screen.
Feet first.
Yeah.
Or the little lines first. Yeah. And you see that.
And the hands are huge or feet are huge, you know.
Or the belt just.
Yeah.
And this isn't the only band you guys do. You also do Lisa and the Lips. And that is a totally different style.
Absolutely different.
Super funky. Yeah. Super funky. And a big band.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It's a much bigger band, much bigger sound. And I guess when you're a musician and you have two loves, because obviously you love both styles, it gives you a lot more freedom to be creative and a lot more experience to tour the world. And
sure.
And to just be silly. Like, it's really hard to do a band with 4 people. Yeah. Let's make it harder and get 8.
And I know, let's have them all speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. English is a second language.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah. So mostly that band, we started it in Spain because that's just kind of where everything kind of came together. We did a festival back in 2012 or something like that, 11 or 12. And after we just did this thing really quickly where we just did some cover songs and said, yeah, let's give it a try. Let's see how this works out. Because the booking agent there had always thought it would be a great idea for you guys to do a funk band with some horns and everything else, you know, a la Sharon Jones kind of thing. So, and our thing is nothing like Sharon Jones. Our stuff is a different kind of feel altogether. But when we went to go do that, Red Bull Studios, they had just built the Madrid studios, and they just said, we would love for you guys to come in and do a record. We would just love to do that. We never even thought that this thing would ever, like, we'd actually be able to do something with it that quickly. And so by December that year, we went in and just got free recording from Red Bull Studios.
They literally called and just said, hey, do you guys want to come in and record? We have 3 weeks. You guys can come in and do it if you want.
Sure.
When does that happen?
Yeah.
Who says no to that?
No, you don't say no to that. That's like, sign me up. I'll be there tomorrow.
We had no songs. We had nothing. We were just like, we got to just show up and build it and they will come. And that's basically what happened. 2 of the songs you wrote while we were
we
walking
had
back and forth to the studio.
Songs from the keyboard player, songs from the guitar player. I had a couple of songs that I had already written, and trying to collate it all into something. Because when we did the show that Lisa was talking about, where Red Bull saw us, we were doing Sam Cooke songs, and
it was all over the
Parliament
place.
songs, and Mary Wells, and like all kinds. It was just went across the spectrum.
And we had no show yet. Like that was just literally the idea of doing Lisa and the Lips. And it was mostly just a title. We didn't even know what that meant yet. And so we were able to go in and do these recording sessions. And then we had to bring those back home with us. And Bob and I built them out after that.
It was, and there were, like Lisa said, we didn't have any songs. So we were taking these songs that these people had wrote and trying to fit them into a thing where it fit what people had seen was Lisa and the Lips. And I wrote, we had to walk like 3 miles from the studio to our apartment in Spain when we were staying there. So I wrote 2 songs on the way home one night, like trying so hard to remember this has got to go. And got home and got a guitar and hammered them out. So it was like that, and then, like we said, we brought the songs home, and
some of them didn't get born until we got here. Like Stop the DJ. That was one of those songs where by faith you said, okay, we're just going to have everybody go and record this riff this way and do these other things. But we had no idea what the song was going to be. So you just laid down all the instrumentation and then eventually
wrote the words and came up with the ideas.
And Stop the DJ is one of my favorite tunes on that record.
Nice. So besides all this, you guys have also had a song in a video game and a commercial, correct?
We have.
And Bob, you composed this Katrina documentary soundtrack, correct?
I did. Yeah.
What made you decide to do that?
A friend of ours was putting together the documentary, and he asked us if we wanted to do the music for it. And he showed us the print, and I said, yeah, okay, it should be not have a lot of music in it. It should just be spare. We went back and forth, and it just turned into something that I never would have thought I could do. Score a whole movie. That's what it was. It was the score for.
And he was great at it.
And yeah, I mean, it worked. It came out really neat. It was a lot of fun. It was very cool.
And then I'm going to sound really nice. For those listening, we were supposed to do this a week ago, and I did all my research, and I even watched that really kick-ass video where you're playing a warden, and I can't think of the name of the song, and I didn't write the name down, but the video where you're playing the jailer.
Oh, good luck.
Yes.
Good luck with the Basement Jacks.
Yes. It's an awesome song. I could not remember to say it because, like I said, it was a week ago, and the video, you look like a badass.
A badass. I was a badass.
In herself.
I would think you're pretty much a force to be reckoned with. If somebody pushed you the wrong way, I think you'd be a force to be reckoned with.
I'm better at dealing with that, but I'm pretty much that. I'm pretty much that. Now I don't have to be that force for them to reckon with. I could just walk away.
Right. Well, that comes with age.
It does. It does. Because it's just like, oh, the worst thing I could do is give you my energy because you don't deserve it.
Mm-hmm. There's times when you gotta just go, you know what? You're just not worth it. I'm done. And
Yeah. And as women, I'm sure that's one of those things that we've grown into, especially with the way that things have changed over the past, but not necessarily changed, but so much has come out with so many women just saying, yeah, that's just stuff we shouldn't have to deal with. You know, the whole hashtag Me Too thing and all of that stuff where you just kind of reframe your own reactions to things. Like I just used to think, oh, I have to explain and, tell people how I feel about certain things. Or if they really make me mad, I need to let them know. No, I don't. I can just walk away and just be out of that life forever. You don't ever have to do that.
Because 9 times out of 10, they're not going to care for the explanation anyway, and they're not going to mind your boundaries. So,
no. But women have always been taught, like, you need to explain yourself and you need to do it. No, you don't. In fact, people understand a lot better if you don't explain anything. In fact, they'll come and ask you, and they'll be real attentive when they're asking you that question. So it works wonders.
But see, this also goes back to the whole conversation about this instant gratification, quick society turnaround. Because if a person really is invested in you, then they are going to come back and ask you, so, hey, what's going on? They're not going to sit there and just go, oh, well, she's done. All right, bye, whatever.
Yep.
And those are the people you want around you.
Yeah.
People who are going to be invested and pay attention. It's when we started doing our live online things, it was like, well, there's not 500 people here. No, but there's like 25 really hardcore people who really want to be here and they want to talk to you and they want to listen to everything you say and they want to do that. And it's like, man, more of that, please.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. I like people that are more real than fake. And while TikTok blew up and everything, that's great. That's fine. But jumping out of your car to dance along to a song and then trying to jump back in, first you're being a fool. Secondly, I'm a former insurance adjuster. And all I can say is this: if you fall or you get an accident, guess what? That's an intentional act, and your policy does not cover that.
And it's on film.
Exactly.
You can't even dispute it. It's on. Like there's so many things that people do on camera today that as soon as I see it, I said, "Oh, they didn't really think about this. They did not really think about this whole thing." You are going to regret that that we are all watching this right now. That epic fail that you're getting all these laughs off of.
All those likes.
Your insurance company's coming after you.
Yeah. All those likes is evidence against you.
It's evidence.
I am so glad I was not an insurance adjuster during the time of TikTok and Instagram because I would certainly be all over that all the time.
They can, and they all are. That's like the easiest way for them to do it. There's probably a
TikTok
video of the accident.
Yeah.
There's probably
all they got to do is Google whatever happened.
Right. And more than likely, people put their own name in.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People don't realize that we need to talk about insurance, but people don't realize that insurance companies like to give you coverage only to take it away.
Exactly.
Sure.
And they love to take your premiums and not necessarily give you money back. But they should also be skeptical if you're going to jump out of a car and film yourself while you're doing that and do a little dance,
The worst I had was my insured decided since somebody was driving on the shoulder of the road, this is in the 90s, so there's no film. Since somebody was driving on the shoulder of the road, he decided that he should stop them from driving on the shoulder of the road. So he pulled out to stop them. They went around and my insured decided to chase them and finally hit them.
And he admits doing God's work.
Yes, and he admits all this on audio tape, and I just say to him, sir, you're not going to be covered. And he's like, why?
Right.
Because you intentionally did this, and your policy does not allow for that.
Right. It's over.
Just because Kathy Bates did it in Steel Magnolias doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
Because you get, that's the other thing that made me just start thinking about how to deal with situations and how to deal with people. It's like, it's not just about how you feel about something.
Right.
Like your feelings about somebody doing something insane could be just as dangerous as the insane thing that person is doing.
Sure.
If you act on those feelings. Sometimes we just need to kind of,
You know, the world is full of injustice.
Oh yeah.
Right, that part.
It's a dangerous,
and your insurance is
yeah,
not necessarily
it's a
going to cover
dangerous place that doesn't really care if it's fair or not. And
What was the old quote? The mind is a dangerous thing and it must be stopped in our lifetime.
yeah.
Sometimes for some people, I would say that's true. As we have digressed off of music now. Anyway, so you're going on this tour, and then after this tour is over, because you're touring the US and Canada,
Yeah.
aren't you going overseas to tour?
almost directly, almost like within, like we get home in time to vote, and then we head out,
Right.
head out to, I want to say we start in Belgium or the Netherlands and hit Belgium, Italy, France, Germany.
Germany.
I think that's, I think I named
There
it.
might be one or two.
There might be one or two more, but yeah, we're going to be there for a little over a month. So we'll be back home in December, happy
Cool.
as a clam
Yeah.
to have been able to do the stuff that we wanted to do in 2023 and 2024.
Who are you opening for over there?
We're not opening, those are
That's
our shows.
Yeah, that's our
Awesome.
Which is normally
Congratulations.
how we've always done stuff, is
Right.
just, you know, we go out and do it ourselves.
Yeah, the social distortion thing is it's a real luxury to go out with a band like that and, you know, be able to midline for them and then do your own shows kind of here and there. You know, it's a very stable place to be.
We're honored to be
Yeah.
asked to go do this tours, really.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
Very
sure.
super awesome.
Because it goes back to, you know, when you're younger, you don't see the whole path. You just say, I'm going to be a musician. I'm going to do this. I'm going to rule the freaking world. And, you know,
Yep.
most people will, I'm going to say this. Most people, I think, would have given up by now because you're not you've got a career. But that's the thing. People don't look at that you have a career, you're loving what you're doing. They look at, I don't have the gratification of the
Right.
success.
Right. And
But-
success is all up to the beholder as well. That's another like American dream. This is a true distortion where people think that musicians and creatives and authors and all of this stuff, if you're not rolling big, you're not rolling. You can't be successful unless you just got a lot of money or you got this or you're doing something, you know, all the time or, you know, it doesn't work like that. If you're a creative and you get to spend your life doing the thing you love to do, you are living the dream. And you don't have to make a lot of money to do that. Some people do that and have another job.
Yeah.
And they love doing it that way because it gives them the security to just do that. We don't do that. We've been independently doing our music since the 2000.
Mhm.
I want to say we started in 90, and then 10 years in, we were able to just kind of say, okay, this is what we want to do. This is all we want to do for our lives. And it hasn't been easy, but that's living the dream,
Sure.
you know, not owning a house and doing all this other stuff. That's
Sure.
not what it's about for us.
Well, and here's the thing. You've had some success, and you've had success that feels good and resonates with you. And you don't have to worry about everybody in your business, i.e. what's going on with certain pop stars, J-Lo. You don't have to worry about people being in your business. You have people that come out to see you because they like your music, they like who you are. And I'm sure you see fans on a regular basis at some of your shows because they support you. And this is success without all the trappings of the fame that comes with it.
Yeah. As long as everybody understands that there is a difference. And sometimes that's the blanket that's thrown over what we do and what other musicians that make tons of money doing that stuff. Or actually, I want to say, I got to be really specific about that. People making that 80s and 90s money. That's a different kind of money than what musicians make now or what they're standing on, you know, in order to go out and make that, in order to go and play these concerts and be on these bills to do these things that are, you know, that cost what they cost to do and what they make doing it. We're just working Joes.
Yeah.
You know,
it's weird because when we first started touring, you know, we'd be playing this slot of places. And then, you know, 10 years later, we're playing the same, it's harder to get those same places to play at because all of the bands that, you know, we were quote unquote chasing, you know, that were playing the bigger places, all of a sudden can't play those places anymore. They're down in our range, you know, we're still in there. So we're fighting with these big names.
We're
you
not
know,
fighting.
Not fighting, but
No,
We're losing. We're losing to those, but it's okay.
Yeah, we're playing in the same venues, you know, and it's weird how it's been compressed into this region, you know, for everybody.
But the other thing too to kind of look at is there's ways to define how that success works, because the model has to work in order for us to continue doing that. Like we have to be able to afford to go out and do touring. We have to be able to afford the hotels. We have to be able to afford the gas. You have to be able to afford the guarantees have to be, you know, they have to match up to all of that. We have to continually do the math and reevaluate whether or not this still makes sense for us to continue doing it. But one thing that we can always do is we can always write songs. We can always do whatever it is we want to do. Maybe we'll start doing more sync and do less stuff on the road. Who knows?
Right.
Who knows? My mind is wide open to it, and I don't owe anybody anything. So it's, you know, if everybody's lucky enough to come catch us while we're doing this, catch us. Check it out.
And that's the important thing, is that you see the difference in, you know, you understand your worth, your value. And if there's somebody else, these older acts that are now still touring, that are now stepping into where you are,
Mm-hmm.
you still hold your value because you've been there. People recognize you. And sure, there's other acts that were a name at one point, but that's the one thing most people don't realize is fame is fickle.
Yes.
And people can love, and it used to be where you were a lot more famous for a lot longer time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Warhol said it best. Everybody will be famous for 15 minutes. And that's what we have on the internet now.
We do.
And that's kind of what people seem to strive for. I just want 15 minutes. That's all.
What are you going to do with that? Do you really
Then
even
what?
need that?
Yeah,
I know.
And then what? So
Yeah. I mean, and let's be clear here. What do you want to be famous for? Let's see. I still
Right.
remember the lady with the Chewbacca mask, and I still remember Two Girls, One Cup. I don't know anything about them, but I still remember that. And do you really want to be famous for something like that?
You can't unsee that.
No, no. So I mean, I would say if you strive for authenticity, and that's the other thing about this whole internet thing is, yeah, you can get a video that has 1 million hits, and tomorrow your video is going to have 200 hits.
Right.
So why are you constantly chasing that if that's not something you're
Right.
passionate about?
Right.
we
Right.
when we first started doing our online thing, we were going through some classes and stuff, and the people that we would go through these classes with, they had a style of music that was, you know, some of it was like, you know, Frank Zappa instrumental-esque, you know, that kind of stuff, real weird ambient stuff, which I like, you know, it all has its space. But they're in a class with us and they're sending us emails. How did you get all this thing? How did you get this emails? How did you get all this? It's like, dude, we've been a band for 20 years. You shouldn't be trying to keep up with us. You really shouldn't. You should find your crowd in your local thing, and you should really just sort of look at what you're doing and focus on that. And how can you bring, you know, and then, you know, we see videos of him playing and he's like not looking at the audience and he's just sort of over here. And the guy and the bass player is playing in shorts and flip flops. And, you know, it's like, you got to look at that and you got to make it entertaining to the people who like the music. Because I guarantee you there are probably enough people who like your music to make you enough money to live on. I guarantee you, in this world of 7 billion people, there are going to be enough people who would willingly give you $10 for your CD. I guarantee it. I was just trying to tell him that.
You only need 100 or maybe 1,000 of those people to really be into your band for you to continue doing what you're doing. If you know how to talk to them.
Yeah.
If you know how to be like in this day and age, as an artist, as a writer, as a creative, you just need to really find the people that resonate with you and what you do, and
find your friend, find your
do
fan.
that.
Yeah, just
do that and work that. That's how you become you. That's how you find out when your songs are done, what if it feels good, if it is believable, because you can actually just ask those people,
Sure.
hey, do you believe any of this stuff that I'm doing?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and if you're not looking at the audience, then you're not connecting. And if you're not connecting, they're not going to be, they're going to start looking at their phone.
Well, and they think there's just some magic marketing button that you just have to do this, and this, and then you'll be famous. It's like,
But they're looking at the numbers.
I know crap loads of bands that are great bands, that are really good bands, play really good songs, really good music, but they're trying to be something else. They're trying to reach to people who don't care about them. And they're spending all that energy trying to get to these people that don't care about them.
And missing the ones that would.
And missing the ones that would. And that's, to me, that's the important thing. If you're an artist, you just want to find your audience. You don't, unless you're one of these, chaos bringer guys that just wants to get in there and crash the party and blow everything up, Banksy type of guys. And, which is fine. No, I don't know. I dig it. I really like it a lot. But, some of us don't want that. Some of us want to be the guys that you're blowing up, which is fine with me.
See, I just talked to an artist that was pretty popular in the 90s, and she was telling me because her record company got bought when she was in the middle of her second album. And they're like, well, we don't hear a single. And
right.
And then she she went back to the studio, made another, re-recorded, and they're still like, we don't hear a single. And then ultimately the deal fell apart.
Sure.
But here's the thing, and this is what her and I were discussing, is the fact that when you look at your core fans, they most likely would have loved those songs.
They would have. Sure. And that's the thing.
Yeah. But that's the record companies,
they didn't just know how to say, we don't know. Because in the 90s, that's what they all should have really been saying is, we don't know what's working now. Right. We're in the middle. We're right in at the verge of a big collapse. Mm-hmm. But we don't know how to say that out loud to you. So we're just going to keep putting it back on you. Right. We're going to keep saying that we don't hear a single because we don't know what the next singles are actually going to be.
We'll give the Red Hot Chili Peppers another $500,000 and hope that sells.
What was it? There was Appetite for Destruction. What is that band? I know that
Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses. They were like somebody's got some finesse over there because somebody was getting advance over advance over advance from a publishing company in the 2000s. It's like that was like they had stopped doing that stuff in the 90s. Yeah. They were like not even really thinking about that, and then that just ruined it for everybody.
Yeah, and like I said, you could have spent a lot less money if you're a record label or the industry or whatever, and gone to the developmental leagues and find all these bands that would kill you for $10,000. I mean, man, we could have done 8 albums on $10,000 back in the day. Mm-hmm. Like no joke. What we spent on our albums.
Side note, we were recording on the cassette.
Yeah,
we were.
Well, and let's be fair here. Tone Loc recorded, Wild Thing in his closet. So
exactly. There was a lot of that where you could spend money you didn't have, or you could spend what you understood and record the way that you could record and maybe get the same or a better reaction from the lesser. It could totally work that way back then. The key was they didn't know. They did Boston.
That's my new favorite.
That's story. Right. That Boston story.
Tom Schultz on Boston. Boston's first album. More Than a Feeling and all, like 5 top 10 hits on it. He got this deal, and the record label was just like, well, we want you to record it in this in
he demoed everything. He demoed all these songs, and they sounded good.
Yeah, they liked it, but they said, we want you to re-record it in a real studio with a real producer. And he didn't want to do it. He fought him. So finally he partnered with this guy, and he sent this guy to LA to just go to this studio and hang out, basically. And he recorded all his stuff in his studio again, or just added to his demos, the ones that he'd done. He had a basement where he had built all the equipment, the recorders, all of that stuff.
He was an engineer too.
Yeah, right? He was an electrical engineer, but he built all this stuff, recorded it all, turned it all in, and they all went, great, this is great. The whole time they thought, they were sending reps to the building, and they said, well, no, you can't go in, he's recording right now. So he recorded this album that sold, how many millions, tens of millions of copies, from his basement.
Those are,
and they spent all the money. It was still a big money thing. He took all the money.
He spent the money on the recording setup that he did, but he proved that he could do the thing,
right?
And it
could sell,
because their whole thing was it's not going to sell and it's against the union.
Right.
They're not going to let but he's the artist and he made this stuff and it was good enough to print up in the first place. And so when we look at how we decide to do, our art, and afford to do it or go into debt doing it and not be able to do it ever again in your life, those are creative decisions that we all get to make. But it used to be you could only do it one way. You could only go through the gatekeeper to get the thing done the way that you do it. And we happen to be there right when it was all collapsing all around.
And I'm not here to say that, everything we've recorded sounds exactly like we want it to sound, but man, I know the performances on there beat them.
Take the Pepsi challenge with those.
But that's the thing between the music industry and even the publishing industry. There's a lot of people I know that, well, I'm querying, and I'm thinking, why? You can be the master of your domain completely, do your covers, control what you want. I've talked to traditional publishers on here who are traditional authors who are like, yeah, the publisher wanted me, here's this really sad story, and they're putting this happy woman on the cover. This is not the cover I wanted.
Right.
So why are you, and plus you want to give them a cut of your money? Why are you doing this?
When you don't have to do that anymore.
No, we don't need the gatekeeper anymore.
We don't need the gatekeeper, but sometimes we act like that's the only way people are going to read it. But we don't really think about the fact that, or that's the only way people are going to listen. Sometimes just less people are listening. Sure. Sometimes your listeners are it's going to take them a while to find you. Sometimes they're just going to get there when they get there, and it's not about selling off what you own. That brings us to because we now have our own record label called Sweet G, where we have all of our stuff is under that label. Everything we've ever done is all there. And it is a wonderful feeling to know that when we put out this record, that we didn't have to go looking for somebody to help us put it out. It might not get, it's not, A&M or somebody else isn't going to pick it up, but they probably weren't going to do it anyway. So it's just one of those things where it's one less headache that we have to go through. And we know, this is where we do it. This is how we do it. We're going to be the ones, we are our gatekeeper.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We are the ones that, that Apple Music and, Spotify and everybody where they got to send the checks.
Mm-hmm.
It's really nice to be that kind of a creative that actually has maintained all of that stuff. Like all these years of doing it, that's one of the things that we can say is actually a benefit.
Yeah.
And too many times you get, when you sign with a gatekeeper, a music house or a publishing house, you're going to lose your rights. Absolutely. And why do you want to do that? I mean, I became Kitty Mystic Publishing, and it cracked me up because I had somebody reach out and they're like, we'd love to work with your other authors. And I'm like, there's only me.
Yeah.
That's it. But if you want to think I'm a big publishing house, go for it. But
and they usually do.
It's the thing about it. You have that control and you're building your own, I don't want to say empire, but you're building your own world.
You're understanding the world you live in. And this is something that artists and creatives have kind of been taught to you should have somebody else handling that stuff. No, intellectual property is a real thing. And as soon as you start creating real things, they are your real things. Walt Disney started because there was a dude that had a bunch of ideas that said, these are all my ideas. And every time I go and make them for somebody else, they become their ideas.
Right.
That is the thing. It's not like we're all trying to be Walt Disney, but we're all like, why can't I hold on to my shit? That's really all anybody should be asked. That's the only question that anybody should be really asking. Why should I have to give any of this up?
But see, that's the thing. For me, being the author, I entered a contest, and I've talked about this before. But the same thing is a songwriting contest. Either way, it's a contest. And there's always a clause in your contract. If you really are paying attention, there is a clause in that contract that says, oh, by the way, if we happen to make something that is just like what you wrote, right, what sounds just like that, then we're going to take it. I know there was a publishing contest I did, and I wrote the whole book, went through it, and in there it says, if we write a book that is similar, the characters or anything of it, you cannot sue us.
If we steal from you, which
Yes.
we're gonna,
Yeah,
which we're gonna,
exactly.
you're basically, by signing this contract, you're giving us permission to steal from you.
And it's the same thing. I'm sure there's the same thing with songwriting contests too.
There probably is. And I never even thought about that part.
Yeah.
But I'm not a contest person.
No, but here's the thing: we are, as creatives, we are so hungry for that moment to make it.
We are, and so many times people. I know I do it on. Anytime the App Store asks me or whatever to prove or agree to the thing, I'll just click it. But tons of times you don't read the whole thing. You don't read what's going on, and intellectual property is not one of those things that you should not be reading. You should really be thinking long and hard about that if you go through the trouble of creating anything.
Well, that was it. I mean, I'm sitting there that night. I've finished off the story, and I'm sitting there and I'm reading and I'm going through, and I have a friend who's traditionally published, and I screenshot that line, and I sent it over to her, and I'm like, "Is this in your contract?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay." And doing this, I've talked to other authors, and I've talked to people that are higher up in the business than I am, and they're like, "Yeah, you did the best thing for you," because
by
that
not
was
signing that.
Yeah.
No, I had no idea that was really a thing, but now that makes perfect sense.
Sure.
Why you get all these people to enter these contests,
sure,
where they go, and then they'll probably pay for some of that stuff to be done to them. Sure. You'll probably also have an entrance fee that you'd have to put into the thing. That
there was no entrance fee on this, but there was a story recently about an agent who told this author, "Send me this stuff. Send me your notes about a book." She took all that information and then gave it to somebody else to write that book.
That's terrible.
It is. But this is the thing, and this can happen, I would say, in the music industry as well, because, hey, I got a commercial or a movie that I want you to score. But you can do it I know you guys have heard this.
Yeah.
But you can do it for the attention or the notoriety. I can't pay you right now, but you'll get some publicity out of it.
We're gonna do this on spec.
Yeah.
Yes, spec.
My favorite. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite to say no to. That's my
But when you're green and you're new, you're like, okay.
You think that publicity is actually that, but now people can't even guarantee that for you. No. They can't even guarantee, like
they could guarantee.
They could never guarantee it, but there are people that did those things and they did get publicity. They did get seen. Nowadays, it's just such a who knows? Who knows what's going to hit, what's not going to hit? You don't know, if the thing that you're doing that week is just going to become the thing that everybody hates, and they just kind of rail against that,
sometimes the negative publicity, if somebody hates it, it's still getting it out there.
Yeah, sure.
That is a hate reading, hate watching, hate listening. That's actually, I read there's a New York Times article about that right now.
Well, if you go back to the 80s, we all hated J.R. Ewing, but everybody tuned in to watch Dallas.
That was the first one where they actually planned on, like, we want this guy to be so hated that everybody watches. Like, not even Dallas watchers watch that. Who Shot JR t-shirts? Remember those?
On the cover of People magazine. I mean, that was like the big mystery for the summer that year.
We still know what that's called. The whole Who Shot JR?
Right.
Like, that was the first big cliffhanger that made it.
I didn't care about JR. It was all about Charlene Tilton. As long as they didn't shoot her.
I don't think Larry Hagman cared about JR.
No, but he did come back to when they rebooted Dallas, so he might have cared. So I thank you for the conversation. And is there anything that we have not talked about that you want to
add? What city are you in?
I'm in Chicago.
Chicago. We have a show. We have a show at the Live Wire.
I know, but unfortunately, when this airs, it'll already have happened. But that doesn't mean anything because your record's still out. People need to go get the record. And I'm going to have links in the bio where they.
You guys missed a great show at the Live Wire. That's what I'm telling you right now. You missed a great show at the Live Wire.
I may have missed it. I may have not missed it. We don't know yet. But the future is unwritten. We don't know.
You have a chance to watch a great show at the Live Wire.
I hate these guys. They told me I missed a show.
You never know.
Don't they know everybody's name in the audience?
But our record's out and you should find it, Heavy Steady Go, at thebellrays.com. You can also find us at sweetgrecords.com. That's our record label where you can find everything that we've done for the past 30 years.
Yep.
Everything's at the BellRays. Lisa and the Lips, you can also find that at Sweet G Records. So find us.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Nigel Hartigan, a rock star in the limelight with a flourishing music career, a talented spouse, and a lovely daughter, conceals a dark secret as he spirals into a haze with the power goddess. Nigel experiences extreme highs and lows, revealing an inner beast. As he descends further into the clutches of the goddess, Nigel plunges to rock bottom, consumed by a delusional world where debauchery rules. Struggling for survival, he faces a difficult choice between his affection for the power goddess and his musical mistress, and the life he once cherished. My Days with the Dark Muse, a Better to Burn Out novel, is available at most online booksellers.
I enjoyed talking to Lisa and Bob. You know, they gave a lot of insight about the music and about their passion behind their songs, behind their career, and the journey that they've been on. I think as creatives, as we talked a lot about, there are certain things that we all see that we're told we're supposed to have the big dream of success, the notoriety, the fame. But the truth is, if you can make a living at what you're passionate about, even if that's, rocket science, if you can make your living at doing what you're passionate and following your passion and your bliss, your stress level is so much less. I'm not saying you're never going to have stress, because the problem with being a creative sometimes, and this is kind of what they were talking about a little bit too, is that we want that perfection. We want that to be perfect. We want it to sound the way we want it to sound. We want it to be read the way we wanted the story to unfold. But ultimately, we want you, the reader, the listener, even the listener of podcasts, to enjoy the show, to enjoy the music, to enjoy the story. And that's where the success comes. When people sit there and say they don't want, an author to look at the review, that the review is for other readers. And I've talked a little bit about this before, and I didn't really talk to them about it, which I should have. That review is not just for the other person. That review inspires the artist to continue doing and following their passion, following their bliss. Because if you can make a career out of doing what you love, as I said a few minutes ago, this actually will inspire you. And nobody's life is ever perfect. Nobody's life is ever going to be where it's not ups and downs. That sometimes you're going to get the great review of your music. You're going to get the great review of the song. And then there's going to be one asshat that just totally trashes you. And you have to learn as a creative to build up that thicker skin, to be that person that, you know what, they have their opinion. And if their opinion or their criticism has some construction to it, that this could have been a better story if, this could have been a better song if I agree with it, I'm going to look at that. But if I don't, and they're just being an asshat, well, screw you too. But anyway, that's the internet for you. We have people that hide behind keyboards that want to blast you for whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we all have to be the judge of what we like for ourselves. We can't allow others to dictate what we want to do with our lives or need in our lives. We have to start making those choices for ourselves. So I hope you guys check out the BellRays. As I said, we were taping the show earlier because, yes, I'm wrapping up that move and everything. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to go. I'm hoping to go. A friend and I have talked about going. So if we go to the show, most likely when I come back to air, I might talk about the BellRays in that show. Or at least if I go, it'll be on my Instagram. But that all depends. I haven't, I don't know. It depends on if life gets in the way. But if you can check out the BellRays when they're on tour, I would definitely do so, because I've seen some of their live videos and it's a fun show. So on that note, I'd like to thank Lisa and Bob for joining us. And I'd like to thank Rich Zai from Third Ear Audio for the audio production of the podcast, and Fast Susie for the intro and outro songs as well. So if you want to purchase their record, the BellRays, or Lisa and the Lips, please go to the website. There's a link in the bio. And on that note, I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning, day, whenever you're listening. And I'll catch you next time, guys. Bye.